Okay, let's talk about consent and safe sex. Safe sex is more than protection from STIs, although it is a piece of it. Okay, so doing things like having fewer sexual partners, getting tested, disclosing your STI status, using condoms, using other types of birth control. Those things can help reduce your risk of contracting an STI. But the reality is, if you're having sex, the likelihood of getting an STI over the course of your lifetime is pretty high. Consent, though, is a vital part of safe sex. Safe sex requires consent. It's the difference between having sex and rape. No one is too young to learn about consent. Young children can be taught about, no, you don't have to give a hug or kiss. You have autonomy of your body. So in class, we will watch this video about explaining consent in kid-friendly ways. One way to think about consent is with this acronym, FRIES: freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. Okay, the F, freely given. That means no one is pressured. It's only consent if it's given willingly, freely. Reversible. That means you could change your mind at any point and decide, no, I don't want to. So consent is reversible. Consent is informed. That means you know what you're consenting to. So this means talking. Is this okay? Can I do this? Do you want to do this? Okay, informed. E, it's enthusiastic. So through language, through behaviors indicating, yes, I am a fan of this. Okay, but again, consent must be given. It must be enthusiastic. Consent is specific. Like, is this okay? Can I do this? Do you want to do this? Does this feel good? It is specific. So again, consent, FRIES, freely given, it's reversible, it's informed, it's enthusiastic, and it's specific. Whoever is engaged in a sexual act can change their mind at any time, and it must be respected by the other person or persons. We can think about it in terms of T. So in class, we'll watch a video about it. But basically, like if you say you want tea and then you change your mind, that's okay. We don't give tea to people who are unconscious. Okay, if someone says they wanted green tea, it doesn't mean that they like raspberry tea. Not everyone likes all kinds of tea. Okay, and you should ask people. And not everyone likes their tea the same way. Consent. So in class, we'll talk about how this video related to consent and maybe some other ideas. So again, consent is a vital part of safe sex. Consent is more than yes or no. Ask, listen, respect. Remember, it's enthusiastic, it's specific, it's informed. A lot of things play into consent. Consent is clear. So that means it's active, it's expressed in words and actions. It's clear, understandable permission. Yes, I like that. I want to. Consent is not the absence of a no. It means the person must say yes. Consent is not lack of resistance. It's not silence. It's not somebody saying, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. What do you think? I'm not. Those things are all not consent. Consent is coherent. It means if somebody is incapacitated by drugs or alcohol, they can't consent. If a person can't make rational, reasonable decisions because they lack the capacity to understand who, what, where, when, why, how, they can't give consent. People who are asleep or in any other vulnerable position cannot give consent. Consent is willing. Consent is never given under pressure. Consent cannot be obtained after psychological or emotional manipulation. Consent cannot be obtained through physical violence or the threat of physical violence. And someone in an unbalanced power situation cannot consent. So, teacher, student, boss, and someone who is reporting to that boss. Unbalanced power situation, unable to consent. Consent is ongoing. Consent must be granted every time. Just because you agreed to this particular sexual act one time does not mean you must agree to it every time. Consent must be obtained at each step of physical intimacy. So before moving forward, is this okay? Do you want to do this? Consent can be withdrawn at any time. You can change your mind. I don't want to. It doesn't matter which person is changing their mind. Anyone can change their mind at any time. If someone consents to one sexual activity, they may or may not be willing to go further. So agreeing to one thing does not mean you must agree to everything. And that's an overview of consent and safe sex. I hope you learned a little bit today.